Welcome to the final episode, the final installation of CM Chatter today. Tomorrow we got a whole bunch of cool stuff planned, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first, while I am still Jay Acunzo, my guest is somebody different. It is Michele Linn. Michele was the head of editorial here. I mean, not in this room, although probably sometimes, but at Content Marketing Institute, and she's now the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Mantis Research. So we're going to be talking about the power of original research because it is so powerful today in content marketing. But before we get to that part, I'm curious about why, as an entrepreneur, you wanted to start Mantis.
So I absolutely loved working with CMI and helping build that brand.
Yeah.
I was the first person Joe hired back in the day in 2010.
Oh, nice.
So there was so much joy and love in building up the CMI brand with Joe and the team. So I knew I wanted to build something again, and I knew that I wanted to get really, really focused in something in a market that was underserved.
Okay.
So we started Mantis because my business partner Claire McDermott and I, we really believe in the power of original research, and we have not found others who are educating marketers on how to do that. So we built our brand to educate marketers and to help them do it if they need any help.
Well, you saw the power of original research firsthand at Content Marketing Institute. What project or projects led you to understand how important original research is here? Before we move on to Mantis, I'd love to know where that started for you.
Yeah, so in 2010, when we launched CMI, one of the first projects that we did is we partnered with Ann Hanley and Marketing Profs, and we did a state of the content marketing industry. Because back in 2010, it was a really nascent industry, and we really wanted to understand our marketers using content marketing and where they challenged and what's working. So that's a study that we did in 2010, and then we did it every single year since. So Lisa Merton-Beets now runs the research. She's amazing, but it was one of those things that, you know, in no small part, CMI was built on the back of its research because it was always one of our best performing pieces of content over the year, and there's so many different ways to use it. So it was just something that worked so well, and then with CMI's brand.
Are there other favorite examples that you can cite in the marketing space of people who do original research really well?
Oh my gosh, there are tons. You know, if you're looking, you know, a lot of people think original research equals laborious and hard and so forth, but I've actually been talking to a lot of marketers who have been doing it on their own. A great example is Andy Crestodina.
Sure.
Everyone probably, I'm sure a lot of people quote Andy, but he does a wonderful blogger study every single year on his Orbit Media blog. So it's a great example to study because he goes after about 1,000 marketers to understand their blogging trends, and he puts together a wonderful detailed blog post.
Sure.
There's also brands like Salesforce. They have a great research arm. They do a lot of different reports on sales and marketing and the connected customer. Litmus does some wonderful, wonderful state-of-the-industry research every single year.
Litmus, yeah.
The email solution, and they have a huge survey that, I mean, thousands of marketers participate in, and then they turn it into multiple reports.
Right.
So they're fabulous. I could go on and on, but there's so many good brands.
It's great to hear that there are so many examples. Are there any sort of tenets or principles that I need to get started doing original research? Because I think the danger or concern would be, I get a bunch of survey respondents and I just kind of publish an infographic, and you know, you want to make sure that because you're trying to present data, that you're doing it with the right approach, that you're not misleading anybody. So what do I need to know if I'm getting started doing these kinds of reports or projects?
I mean, the way that we look at original research is that you should have something that you want to test. So is there a stat that you often heard that you want to validate?
Right.
Or is there something in the industry that people believe to be true that you want to disprove? So really think about how can I use this survey data to actually test a hypothesis and then tell the story based on whatever that result is.
Interesting.
So I am not at all a fan. I know, you know, some marketers, if they're trying to do research in an incorrect way, are trying to write questions to get the result they want to prove a solution for their brands. To me, that's just smarmy and yucky. I can
unfortunately name a couple companies who do that.
Yes. But if you're really trying to really be curious and try to find insights, I think research can really work well. Okay, again, you just test what you believe to be true, and you actually see what the data tells you.
You want to be, if you have a certain approach to marketing or certain philosophy, or for your customers, if you're not talking about marketing to other marketers, as CMI does, you could be talking about industrial manufacturing or anything really. If you have a certain point of view, it's not I'm doing research to prove my point of view is right.
100%.
Yeah.
You're doing it to test it, and then once those insights come back, then you can put your point of view on those insights and explain, well, this is why I think this is this, or this is why, this might have not, the story might not have played out like we thought.
And I think it can almost be just as powerful, if not more powerful, if your hypothesis was disproven, because then you could be like, look everyone, we have a real opportunity here. This is what we believe about the industry.
Yes.
Here is what we're actually finding. Look at that opportunity. As a brand, we're going to own that problem and insight and actually help you address this gap, because we think it should be done this way. It's not. That's not a bad thing. We're not disproving our position as a brand. We're highlighting a problem that we are here to solve.
100%. And one really great example of that is Co-Schedule. They do a state of marketing strategy report.
Sure.
And in their report, they actually have, we thought that the data would show us this, but what the data actually showed us was this. So it shows that they have rigor, and they have, really, and also shows that it's just a really effective storytelling device.
Right.
Because I found myself as a reader reading along to see, like, I wonder if what I think is true is actually true or not true. And then what they do, and other brands do too, is they figure out what those problems are and then create content that addresses those specific needs. And then if you're trying to build an audience or get leads, gate that content. So it's a wonderful next step, and you're actually helping someone with something that you actually know that they need help with.
Right. So how would a third party like Mantis actually work with a marketing team?
So there's 4 steps in any research project. There's the strategy and the planning. The next step is all around the data science. So the survey questions to ask, programming of the survey, testing the survey, getting responses, executing the survey, analyzing all of the data in a meaningful way. So that's all the data science part.
Sure.
And then there's the research journalism part. So really telling the story, having that point of view from the insights, it's crucial how you do that. And then the last step is amplification.
Right.
So especially if you do a larger study like CMI and others have done, there are so many different stories that you can tell. So we help brands across all of those different things. So some people just need the strategy and the data science, so they have results and they can take it and run with it. Some people come to us with data, they don't know how to tell a story with it. So anywhere along that process is where we help marketers with research.
Interesting. So any prescriptions, any techniques, any tactics you can share if I'm trying to get started doing this research? Because ostensibly you could sort of steamroll yourself or your team by being like, we're doing the annual report on our whole industry, and oh my goodness, good luck.
So I mean, a few things to keep in mind. So if you are in an industry that is new, like CMI was back in 2010, a state of the industry report can work really, really well. If you are any of these tech vendors here in the content marketing space, I mean that research has been covered, by Marketing Profs and CMI and many others. So figure out what your niche is, what is your story that you can tell for your specific brand, and focus on that. So when we talk to people about choosing a topic, we always say, is it interesting to your audience? And if you're trying to get press mentions, is it interesting to the media? Is it interesting to the journalist? Does the story align well with your brand? And are you covering something that hasn't been covered already? Are you answering questions that no one has answers to?
Right.
So that's a great framework to think about as you think about where your topic should be.
Amazing. She is Michele Linn. I have been Jay Acunzo. I will continue to be Jay Acunzo after this, but just not with you people. And you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in to CM World Chatter today.